Hey everyone, I'm Ronak and let's look at how to play Nayakas, a worker placement game designed by Andy Desa and published by Go India Games. In this game, you are the Nayak or Maharaja of one of these 4 kingdoms in southern India, and as the head of state, you will command your subjects to usher in a new age of prosperity. Let's open the box. Components and setup. Open the game board and keep it in the center of the table. Now, shuffle all the merchant tiles and place them face down at their space on the board. Take the 6 event tiles from the box, shuffle and keep any 3 of them face down in this space and put the rest back in the box. They will not be used during the game. To set up this area called as the trading post, take the first event tile and place it face up on the top square space, and then take the top 2 merchant tiles and place them in the next 2 spaces face up as well. Now shuffle and place all the section tiles face down in this space and do that for facility and borderland tiles. After that, open 3 random tiles and place them in the bonus market like so for each of them. Place this building tracker on the first space of the building track. Now place the matching temple tiles of all the active players on their faded side in any of the empty spaces of their kingdom. Also, shuffle and place these grey colored tiles on the temple tiles market face up. They should be equal to the number of players in the game plus 1. Keep the rest back in the box. Finally, shuffle all these development cards and place them in this space. Now for the players. Each player takes a player board of their choice. They also take 2 laborer pawns and 1 diplomat pawn and all of these event tokens of their color. Give each player 4 resource tokens, 1 of each gold, stone, clay and culture, and place them under the number 2 of their resource track like this. This indicates that you start with 2 resources of each type. Now give a set of these 3 different artisan cards which players can keep at the side of their board on the grey side face up. Finally, each player gets 1 card from the top of the development card pile face down, 1 player aid, and give the conch to the player who most recently visited a historical site. Now keep these prosperity tokens and extra wooden pawns in easy reach of the players. They will be required during the game. Keep all the other components back in the box and you're now ready to play. Let me give you a summary of the gameplay. Throughout the game, players will be placing their laborers and diplomats on these square spaces called as homelands and borderlands in order to gain resources, hire artisans, and execute actions in the worker phase. In the building phase, they will use the right resources and artisans to build sections and complete their buildings, increasing the collective building tracker on the board. Once the building tracker reaches the level equal to the number of players, or if this 3rd event tile is discarded, the players finish the current round and player with the most prosperity wins the game. Each round goes through these 3 phases: the worker placement phase, the building phase, and the cleanup phase. Starting with the player who has the conch, each player turn by turn places one of their workers or pawns on available spaces on the board and takes the corresponding action. You can place these short laborer pawns on your homeland and borderland spaces. Let me tell you what these are. A homeland space is surrounded by your color in a solid frame, whereas a borderland has frames only on the corners like this. Do remember that some of these trading posts also count as your borderland spaces. Now what are the rules of placing your workers? Your laborers can be placed on your empty homeland spaces or your empty borderland spaces. Keep in mind that 2 laborers of either your color or any player's color cannot be on the same space. Your diplomats rather have a special privilege. They can act as a normal laborer, or they may also occupy a space previously occupied by another player's laborer and activate the action of that space. For this, you must have more culture on your board than the player who owns the laborer. 2 or more diplomats can also be not on the same space. There is one exception where a laborer and a diplomat can be in the same space, and that is also clearly highlighted in the rulebook. Your diplomats may also go to other borderland spaces where you don't have a color. First, you need to pay 1 culture in order to go there, and if it so happens that another player's laborer is already there, then you also need to make sure that you have more culture than that player before going there. If this sounds too confusing, don't worry, the game comes with these player rates which you can keep next to you and check if your move is legal or not. I'd recommend to keep them handy. Using the empire spaces. At the top of the game board, there are two pairs of empire spaces. These spaces are considered borderlands outside of any player's kingdom which they can use. In each pair of empire spaces, the left space must be filled first before the right space becomes available. Now, if there are any resources shown on the location where you place your worker, you gain them immediately. For example, if you place it here, you gain 2 stone and gain artisans depicted on it. Accordingly, you move your resources on your scoreboard like this and flip one of the artisans on the numbered side. If you happen to gain the same artisan again, rotate it like this. The number pointing upwards here indicates the number of artisans of that type that you have currently. Once all the players pass and they cannot place any of their workers or wish not to place their workers, the worker phase ends. Let's look at the build phase. On your player board, you will have these 4 buildings which you can complete by finishing these small sections on them. Each building has either 2 or 3 sections which can be completed by paying these relevant resources mentioned on that space. Starting with the player who has the conch, players going clockwise can complete any one section of any of their buildings by paying the relevant cost mentioned on that section. For example, since I have 3 clay, 3 stone, a mason and an architect, I may choose to complete the bottom section of yellow player's water tank, or the middle section of this temple, or the middle section of the Meenakshi temple. Do remember that you can also use your gold in order to finish a section of the building instead of clay or stone. Once the resources are paid, the player must take any one of these open rectangle section tiles and they can either place it face up or face down in the corresponding section they just finished. Now, placing these face up will also help you during the game, as the white background tiles have passive powers which may grant you extra resources. The light purple ones, however, give you end of the game prosperity points. You can check out the back of the player aid to know exactly which tiles correspond to its benefits. In case if any of these face up abilities don't suit you, you may choose to flip the section tile to its prosperity icon side and it will count as 1 prosperity at the end of the game. Worker tabs. As you would have noticed, most of these section tiles have these symbols which you will also see here on the board. These are called as worker tabs. Anytime a player gets 2 worker tabs of the same type, they get the matching worker from the supply. If they are brown, the player gets an extra laborer, and if they are grey, they get an extra diplomat. Do remember that you cannot get more workers if the supply is empty. Unlocking additional workers this way gives you advantage in the game, as starting from the next round, you can take more actions. Once you finish the final section of any building, you are eligible for some immediate as well as some endgame bonuses. If you have completed either of these temples on the top, you can immediately flip your colored temple tile or get a new grey tile which is available from this temple tile market and place it in an empty homeland space in your region. With this, your workers get a new space to go and take that action. These prosperity icons indicate that the building once completed counts as 2 prosperity tokens at the end of the game, and for this, players don't have to take the actual tokens. Completing each bottom building allows you to choose any one facility tile from the bonus market and place it in this space, activating the bonus ability of that tile. After finishing the bottom right fort, you get an additional benefit of picking up one of these borderland tiles and place them on one of these spaces anywhere on the main board indicated by the plus sign. Any player who visits this space now gets an additional bonus in the form of a resource or an artisan. You also unlock a corresponding worker tab, and if you now have 2 of any type, don't forget to get that type of worker from the supply of your color to use in the future rounds. Don't forget to move these building tracker marker 1 step anytime a player finishes a building. This will be crucial in the game because a certain level might trigger the end game. Now let's talk about events. Winning an event gets you prosperity too. In order to win an event, A player needs to have the majority of their event or flag tokens in this area of the board. Once you place a worker on an event space, according to the condition of the orange tile, you get to put these flag tokens in this area of the board. Now multiple players can have their flag tokens this way during the game depending on who activates the event tile with their workers. Let me show you later in the cleanup phase how you can score points using this in the game. After all players are done building sections, players now must perform some board maintenance in this cleanup phase before starting the next round. First, all players get their workers and laborers back from the main board. Then, players also refresh their unused artisans back to their grey side. And lastly, any tile on the last spot of this trading post must be discarded in this area and a new tile should be opened from the top, moving the other two down one step. Now in case if one of these orange event tiles gets discarded, check who has the maximum event tokens in this area. The player who has the most gets 3 prosperity tokens and the second player gets 1. After that, all players take their event tokens back to their player board. Any ties here are broken in the favor of the player with the most culture. In case if it's a further tie, then the player who is sitting closest to the player with the conch in clockwise direction wins the tie. Also, if an event tile is discarded in this phase, you must open the next available event tile instead of the merchant tile. When this happens, give each player 1 new development card which you can play in the next round. Development cards. These development cards can be generally played anytime during a player's turn in the worker phase, but some cards do mention the right time to play them. In case if you don't end up playing the card, each card counts as 1 prosperity at the end. A game of Nayakas may end when a player completes a building, resulting in the building tracker reaching one of these spots according to the number of players. When this happens, the players continue and finish the cleanup phase before assessing the final points. Now the game may also end if the third and the last event tile has been resolved and discarded in the cleanup phase. In that case, you can directly assess the prosperity points. Scoring. Now players sum up all of their prosperity points gained in the game by completing temple buildings, face down section tiles depicting prosperity, achieving these light purple section tile conditions, and having any prosperity tokens and development cards in hand. For example, the yellow player here gets 2 points for completing this temple and 0 points for this one as one section is incomplete. They get 3 points for these face down section tiles, and according to these purple conditions, they get 3 points. And finally adding 1 for each prosperity token and 1 for an unused development card totals their score to 12 points. After this, the player with the most prosperity wins the game. If there's a tie for winning the game, the player with the most culture breaks the tie, followed by the player who has the most resources remaining on the player board. If there's still a tie, the tied players share victory. And that is how you play Nayakas. This game is made by Andy Desa and is published by Go India Games, who have also helped sponsor this video. If you want to know where you can access this game, I'll leave a link in the description down below. If you have any other questions regarding the rules of the game, me and the publishers and designers will check your comments and will reply to you as soon as possible. If you want to check out more about the game, the link is mentioned in the description. Till then, keep playing and I'll see you in the next one.